Picnic averted. Or it should be. I told you guys not to panic, and all you put that stupid panic basket emote, like you think it's helping. All you're doing is setting the world on fire, okay? Nah, but for real, we should be back in action now with the proper screen resolution. My apologies. I'll explain a little bit better if anyone's really curious, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Regardless, as stated, we are getting into the Corsair Cup monthly finals, the Season 1 finals, if you will. This first matchup of the day is a best of 3 here in the round of 8. And spawning in the upper left side, I guess if you think about it, it'd be the lower left side. We're underwater. But either way, on the left-hand side of the map, it's going to be the Red Zerg player from Team Liquid, Snute.
How does that make any sense? You know what? Whatever. In the bottom right is the blue Protoss. He is Ting's Neeb.
Well, my justification is to go deeper into the water, you don't go up, you go lower.
Well, if that's the case, then we can only ever call the maps that are space stations upper, because like the world would be lower, and this would be like the bottom.
So my argument for that though is like with a space station, you could go lower onto like this. It tilts 2 different directions. I don't feel like you can't swim up. You know, we're not already in Atlantis and then fighting our way to the shore. Okay, you're right.
Drowning,
You're right about the objectivity of swimming, but I'm talking about like the landscape here. Although I guess there is the possibility that the camera's not angled directly downwards and that this is actually a map on a slope. In which case, yeah, Snute, I guess, could be in the upper left.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine if that was the case and like every time you went down a ramp, the units would start like starting to kind of fall and like
Zombie
trip really good.
We got a terrible track record with knowing anything geographical, okay? Europe is a perfect example of this. I'm not going to start trying to guess the shifting of the plates, creating different slopes and dynamics underneath the water, okay? Under the sea.
I really feel like we don't have to put ourselves in a position that we would have to guess. Like, this is just our fault at this point.
I do tend to like to shoot myself in the foot, so you know what? You might be right about that one.
Yeah, I know. And unfortunately, I usually go down with you because I'm not much.
Because the captain goes down with her ship.
Like, you'd be so fucking screwed if I took, like, fuck, I actually can't even think of the word right now. Like,
I like the
tectonic geography, like, earth science major in college. You'd be so screwed.
Counterpoint, though, you did take art, and I never see any of that ever.
Yeah, but I don't have to talk. Like, if we talk about it, though, I'm actually kind of knowledgeable. Like,
sure,
if you ever want to bring that up and seem like you shoot yourself in the foot, I'm not going down with you on that subject. But any other subject, I'm like, fuck.
Sure.
I can't help you, man.
It's all about that knowledge. All right, guys, enough silliness. We got the game actually shaping up. I do want to point out, Neeb did I like the wall off he's got going here. It's Abyssal Reef, and it's awkward to wall off 2 different locations, but Stargate Gateway Cybercore, I do believe there's a hole in it so you can get through, but this is still that wall off you need to keep Snute from running into your base with Lings. However, the Lings aren't running across the map because they're busy dealing with some annoyance at home. That probe kind of mucking around for a bit forced Snute to take his 3rd instead of his natural, and now this Adept is looking to kill that drone and say, no natural for you, not anytime soon.
He has 6 Lings, which definitely takes care of an Adept, but I guess he really wants the Queen to do it. Doesn't mind losing out on the hatchery a little while longer. I mean, he's making drones. It's not like he's banking a ton of money. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Snute's getting totally screwed by Neeb doing this or anything, but it's just nice to see Neeb. It's such a small dedication to get a pretty decent payoff for it, I feel.
We need a lot of resubs to start off this game.
Yeah, I figured I was going to wait till we got a game because it's like a whole handful and a half. And we wasted a bunch of time arguing about plate tectonics.
We did no arguing. We brought it up and said we might argue about it and then make ourselves look foolish.
True enough. So we did a great amount of shooting ourselves in the foot to kick off the game. A blanket thank you to all those who are resubbing. We'll get you guys your proper shoutouts after the game's completed. But Snute, gonna find out about Neeb's Stargate pretty quick. Of course, if you're looking really hard, you can tell it's a Phoenix. Although, I will say on this map, it's a little bit more difficult.
Luckily, the shape of Phoenix and Orbital is very different. Otherwise,
yeah, but I just mean like the blue and the brightness here. Jesus, I didn't realize how much this was gonna be difficult to see on Abyssal Reef.
Yeah. Well, the game really isn't action-packed, and we have pretty typical openers as far as PvE goes.
I'm actually more surprised, though, because the last few times we've seen Neeb, he's not been doing, like, Stargates and otherwise. He's actually been doing a lot more of the standard stuff we've seen, whether it's with DTs or whether it's just going to be like pushing for harass with the depths. Like I don't think, at least maybe I'm confusing with someone else. I'm not thinking of a lot of Stargate games I've seen with Neeb.
Well, lately I've just seen Neeb died a bunch of early all-ins, so I don't have much to add there. He stopped dying to early all-ins as soon as I stopped casting him, it felt like, but a lot of this was maybe a Stargate opener, maybe a Dead Resident Enclaves opener, whatever, but the point is he delayed his mothership core and would just get wrecked by early lings. Which obviously didn't happen this game and is unlikely to happen versus Snute. There's a ton of other Zergs that would be abusing that no matter what map it was, but Snute's not one of those guys.
Also, just realizing here's that Oracle Pass up northwards. There's like treasure on this map, and is that I can't tell if that's a squid or a skull.
I'm pretty sure it's a skull, but it could be a really angry jellyfish.
That's what I was thinking, right? Like sort of, I mean, it's under the sea. Who's to say that this was crashed? Maybe this was forged down here in the bellows of the ocean, deep where the lava spouts are.
Also, did neither of these races care? Well, even the Terrans wouldn't care about gold undersea. Like,
I can feel like
pick that up and
I feel like Protoss might though. You consider like most zealots and Protoss buildings are all like gold coated and things like.
Oh yeah, this is actually where they get their paint. They melt down the gold.
That's pretty inefficient for paint. That's gonna.
Yeah, that is. But
right.
it's a good question though. Like, they're not wearing gold, are they? It's just painted.
Well, if you look at the zealots in the cinematics, you'd swear they are though, right? Like.
Isn't gold really heavy?
Zealots are really strong.
So
I mean,
like
one zealot can take on like 5 lings.
They're
Hello.
constantly weight training like in Dragon Ball Z.
Oh
and,
my
like,
god.
They take off
that's
their
why
zealot armor.
that's why the DTs move so fast and like can blink around because they drop the armor.
And that's why they do so much damage. Oh my god.
Oh jeez, this is like some Naruto bullshit with
out.
like Rock Lee.
Oh shit.
Oh, we just went way too
Jesus.
weird on the StarCraft lore. All right, roaches are here to defend, but the adepts get to that mineral line pretty quick. And honestly, there's not enough roaches here initially, so these first 2 are gonna pop off. The adept's gonna want to chase down those drones, and of course for Neeb, it's about killing workers more than trading off for army. But he's got 2 different attacks going on, all about to conglomerate on this ramp, and that's a lot of adepts to fight with.
It is, but they're not doing so much yet. Now they're finally starting to get closer to the mineral line. But
I'm worried about
not
that
even
army
close.
supply though. Look at that, like Neeb's really trailing in this. Like if he loses these adepts, he's not gonna have a lot more behind it.
This
Snute's
is
doing
a
a
pretty
great
bad
job.
attack, actually, when all is said and done.
That's true, but I love that Snute was on top of this. He had Lings and Roaches waiting at the end of the transfer. He had enough at the start of it. I mean, it's so easy to not have enough units and get overwhelmed by the adepts, but great job so far out of Snute. And he's transferring into a Spire behind this, so everything Neeb's building for is going to be super not great for the Snute's follow-up.
No. I mean, he's getting Blink and +2, and that's okay, but remaking a ton of adepts, that's not the army he wants against a Spire. If Snute even really goes for a Spire, since he's also getting the Infestation Pit, I guess maybe the Spire's only for, or was cancelled, so never mind. I was gonna say, it could also only have been for the 8 mutas, but nope, never mind. So, Infestation Pit, I wonder if this means he's gonna go straight to Hive, or just get faster Infestors.
Baneling's got some decent connections there. Woohoo! Last one manages to veer off, but Roach is still going to get a couple hits in. That's where the adepts turn around and slam him in the face.
Kind of went almost Mickey Mouse. That was a really weird laugh you did.
You know what? I wish I could do, if I could do a laugh controllably, I would choose Goofy. Like,
oh, the yuck.
I can't even.
Yeah,
like,
I can't do that.
That one or the Yahoo!
Yeah, that's a pretty good laugh.
Oh my god, can you imagine if the Marines made that sound when they get shot on this map as they're spinning out into space? Alright, the attack commences. Snute comes in with double the army supply, and even with an overcharge and an Oracle in the sky, it doesn't look like Neeb's gonna have enough. His supply's dropping and fast. The Immortal's about to pop actually, so hold the phone, he might be able to clean up. An Immortal is really strong against Roaches, and it's only a handful that's left. But Lings and Banlings come in, they're gonna get us around. The Immortal's already had his barrier popped. We got pieces of debris and corpses flying everywhere, but I think this is it for Neeb. Snute's just got a little bit too much, and he's still got reinforcements on the way.
Yeah, this was a pretty straightforward game, really. I mean, Neeb tried this adept attack that was supposed to catch Snute off guard. Didn't, and he lost too much army supply. GG.
GG. All right, Snute walks away with game number 1 in a best of 3, so Neeb still has a chance to come back. It will be his choice through loser's pick.
Yes. Which I think he knows.
So, yeah.
There was initially some confusion.
Yeah, for those who don't know, with these, we just simplify it for streamlining's sake. I know there's a lot of like, it would be more fair or better if, and then top seed versus not top seed. It's just a lot easier if we just set the maps ahead of time, because a lot of these folks end up vetoing, and we end up seeing a lot of the same maps anyway, so it's kind of cool, because we also get some diversity. Like, first off, I would never ever think anybody shoots for Paladin or Terminal, but that's going to be the first map in the finals, so shake things up, to say the least.
Some people are choosing Paladin and Terminal on him.
I guess, yeah, we saw... Because it goes to game 8 in a series? I don't know.
That's true. We saw Protoss use it, and I was like,
yeah. Well, as we wait for the map to load in, I hope you guys are having a great day. Let's get those shoutouts caught up, right? Because there's a whole bunch of them. I'm going to replay them on stream, too, for authenticity's sake. So, okay, well, we said Cautions just hit us up with 4 months on that resub. Errol M81 for 8 months. 8-month resub, and what a better way to cheer on Snute. Snoohum forever! Zenny Z for the 18 months as well. Thank you, Dr. Sidewinder, for 20 months. Says 2 decades. Woo! That's some good math, man. Speaking of which, Math Man, that wasn't even on purpose. Math Man, sub for 9 months. Following that up, Worf PL for 9 months as well. Sub babies all over the place. I am not the father of these babies. I used protection. Walgren 70. I'm so glad you're here, Walgren 70. I have been shouting you out like crazy for your contribution to the mega tournament fundraiser, and I'm glad to know that you're actually here for once to hear it. So Walgren78 just reset for 4 months. Says 4 months of awesomeness with Zombie Grub and Rifkin, or is it Refkin? But he also contributed a fairly large amount to the mega fundraiser we're running, so thank you, Walgren78. Shock SC2 for 4 months. Dehumanizer for the 12 months. That's 1 year. Spams PogChamps. Dude, send us a message so you can get yourself a Partoof. And I think that should catch us up on everybody. If I missed anyone, I'm truly sorry. But do you have your map pick yet?
Yeah, he finally messaged Cactus Valley.
Interesting. So again, by the way, Emil on the Polish stream is covering Nurchio versus Alive. That is the matchup I personally wanted, but I went with what the fans voted for. So you guys can catch that over on Emil's stream. The brackets, though, should be kind of neat. Like, let's assume for a moment Nurchio beats Alive. That's him versus Keen or Optimus, so that's a TVZ semifinals. The winner of this fights against either the winner of Sort of or Fear, so I think I would actually not mind a ZVZ down here because Snute and Sort of will show some really good games, I think, but either way, there's really great potential for any mix-up, any matchup here.
Yep. Okay, we are ready to go. Accidentally inviting TLO. Whoops.
I like that he accepted too. He's just blindly like, oh, Zombie Grub's inviting me? Nice.
Something important. Or maybe just habit. Who knows?
On that note, Alive's probably so heartbroken that you're not casting him right now.
Yes, that is
a legitimate thing and not at all fantasy. Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Game 2 here in the Corsair Cup. If you guys don't know, though, this tournament was recently upgraded to be powered by Twitch, which is what's allowing for these bigger monthly finals to happen. Beforehand, we could only have, small cups once a week, that sort of thing. But with Twitch, we've now got a $400 monthly finals. Hell frickin' yeah! Spawning here in the bottom right on Cactus Valley, we got the red Protoss. He's down 1 game at the moment. It's Ting's own Neeb.
In the top right, as the blue Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
And a quick little, I guess, side shout out. While we do appreciate Corsair and Twitch for making this happen, Ting's also sponsoring the Ting Open, which is currently going on. If you guys don't know, you can check out bttv.ting.com if you want to support us and them through that link.
Look, Jesse's been teaching them strats.
The cannon rush is real. I guess this was a map you could do the wall off on, though, right? I kind of forgot about it. So whether Jesse was coaching Neeb or whether Neeb's just like... Actually, wasn't Jesse the one getting cannon rushed in that show, man?
He's finally tried to cannon rush, and I think he's still under everything.
Regardless, though, I'm actually really curious on Neeb doing this. This is a bit of a throwback strategy, I would even say.
It is. I did bring up the bunker wall off that you could do when someone, proxy reapered, but Pylon as well.
Okay, so you can build one cannon on the left side of the wall to cover the cannons on the right side, and the idea is you just keep this probe alive to eventually throw some cannons down. What Neeb, I think, was hesitant to do, though, is he wanted to time out these cannons so that Snute wouldn't be able to cancel the hatchery without him being able to cancel the cannons. Because if he had thrown those down right away, GG. GG.
Wow. Not even gonna try.
But that's the thing, though, right? Like,
odd.
if Snute had been able to time out canceling that hatchery, he may have had the money to get the lings and the queens and whatever, but he realized, like, that was not going to work. Not with that opening, not with that setup.
Well...
Not with that wall in, especially.
What's kind of odd about any immediate cancel in Legacy of the Void versus a Cannon Rush, because if this was Jaedong and Heart of the Swarm, then, okay, you should just GG, right? But in Legacy of the Void, like, they gave you an option that meant... Caddis Valley had a very easy wall-off back at home for Neeb. So we never had to worry about lings flooding in, but like I said, the Void, you have an evolution chamber, and you can drop lings in, and it usually guarantees some sort of counter damage.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen drop lings maybe get utilized instead of the immediate tap out.
But Protoss, I guess, can also sometimes sneak in a photon cannon in their main as well, if they're good.
Yeah.
If they're prepared. But it's more unusual in Heart of the Swarm to see immediate tap outs than ever before. But,
I mean, Legacy of the Void?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right, we got a couple of subs during that game. Things kicked off real quick. Thank you, Time to Tell, for the 31-month resub. Gotta love 69 for the 25 months. Hooray, 25 months. Aquanuts, 28 months, says, get on my level. It's like level up, level up, level up. Thank you guys so much.
By the way, I think Neeb was a little confused as to why he tapped out, because he went to like the replay.
Snute just messaged me too. He's like, I pulled my drones 4 seconds too late, and I built an Evo first instead of a spawning pool.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay, I was wondering if maybe he canceled a spawning pool or something else. It didn't quite
well,
grab,
I just thought it was going to be some weird... Like, because the thing is, if this was anyone else, I would question that choice. But Snute has actually been one to experiment and try things, especially if you watch him on stream, and he explains a lot of his thoughts. So he's one of the few guys I would give the benefit of the doubt to do something weird like that and not question it, because for me, it's like... Oh, this is Snute trying something different, right? Like, this is Snute just experimenting with a way to beat this.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the big things I've always respected about Snute, by the way, is, and he's been more open about this than other players, even though I think they all do this to an extent, but they talk about how tournament play is the best practice grounds for them. Whether it's making silly mistakes like what we saw, or whether it's trying new things, he's said before that it's because people, when money's on the line, they're playing a lot harder, and it's better than like a casual ladder game for practice. So, again, for me, I really didn't expect that to be a mistake out of Snute, in all honesty.
Well, funny games happen, I suppose.
They absolutely
on
do.
To the next one.
Before we get into the intros, quick shoutouts to Hojo to Super Clown. 12 months on that resub says, hey, 1 year. Still say Terran needs attack bears. I agree. Melee units for Terran, and they gotta be bears. I'm with you on this one, brother. And then Storm Camper was a brand new sub. Thank you for joining us on the sub train. But let's get into the game. Spawning the top right of Honor Grounds. Oh, horizontal spawn locations. What a surprise. It's gonna be the red Zerg player, Team Liquid Snutes.
At this point, even if I played on this map and finally noticed the little blinkers, I wouldn't believe them. Like, I think this is the only way. In the top left, as the teal, light blue, Protoss, it is Neeb.
All right, well, a couple of things to be said about this map. If you guys haven't seen much of it, there's a big important part about taking your base out here, I'd say, and it's not that you're worried about like Neeb dropping in, you want to have defenses up here or anything, and that might happen, by the way, but it's about getting control of that watchtower really early. It's a choke that funnels into your 3 bases later. Plus, it gives you the technically safer base if you invest in it later. So, all in all, I do like that Snoot's gone for the outer base first and not for the one inside the pocket expansion.
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite common for Zergs to do. Obviously not so much for the other races. Neeb goes for a Nexus first, which is like a little bit dangerous, as it is a relatively small map, especially if you do get not cross spawn, which I've never seen yet, by the way.
Yeah, we've cast a lot of these
8 or 9.
games.
And it's I think like 7 of those games were in these positions specifically. I've only ever gone like once or twice at the bottoms. But anyway, yeah, it's only a little bit risky. As you do have this really large wall off, if they did do a super cheese and they found you immediately, you could be in some trouble, but the chances are still fairly low, and it makes sense. This is first, command center first, what have you. Although this is an odd map in that I guess you could command center first, but you could also 3x Reaper. Both would be, I guess, an option.
Before some super meta 3cc first build comes out, and you just like fill up that wall quicker with it.
Dude, I'm pretty sure Marine King tried that a long time ago.
Actually, I watched Nate win a game doing that, but he did it by accident because he messed up his depot timing.
Yo, I remember one time I tuned into Nate's stream, and it just was so coincidental. I tuned in, 15 seconds later, he accidentally canceled all the barracks that were building, and his face is just like shock. He just chi-chis out.
If you guys,
I kind of feel responsible for this.
a lot of people actually been giving crap on YouTube for all the references to Nate's stream lately, but honestly, Nate's, I feel, the one guy doing mech right, and he's doing a lot of experimentation with it. So really, if you want to see like alternate Terran plays, he's the guy to look for. Alternate Terran facts, I guess.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I get it. So, 2 adepts go in here. It is already against speedlings, though, so not really worth, and he's going to try and go back. But, yeah, double Stargate, maybe a carrier game.
Right, I was just thinking about this. For those who don't know, Snute and Neeb actually have a really interesting history together. Oh, I love that little hiding spot, by the way. Where they've played some pretty extreme games, but most importantly, while there's this blanket dynamic right now where if Protoss gets the air, if you get to do the carriers and the Tempest, generally speaking, you're probably going to win the game. That being said, though, Neeb and Snute have played these games. Invasion was the map, where Neeb not just went like air, but he like mass cannoned with
Invader.
he turtled with cannons, or Invader, thank you. Mass turtled with cannons, he had Templar, he had air, and Snute did this really cool thing where he mined out the entire map. So he had like a 20,000 mineral bank, right? He kills all his drones and queens, and he maxes out purely on army 3 times in a row and can't break Neeb, right? That's one of my favorite games of all time casting. So like for them, there is this extreme to this matchup, this length that they've both gone through to fight each other.
That is true. I wonder how often they think about that when they face each other.
I doubt it's often, but I do imagine Snute does think about things like, oh, as he scouts these double Stargates, what's coming out of them? Phoenix for now, but does it stay Phoenix?
It's pretty cool you got these lings in to scout that, by the way. That wasn't supposed to happen. They might have even gotten a probe. They really stuck around, but Snute tries to save him, and the game continues.
Yeah. There's no reason for that to have echoed. Oh my god, it was so loud. $69 from, I'm gonna guess it's Flotch, but I'll read out that message later. That's a really big message, and a really lewd message too. Thank you very much. But regardless of this, like I think the Overlord was trying to get in, and that's why the Stalker was poking out, like out of the wall, out of position, trying to drive off the scouting. So a bit ironic that the Lings were able to get in through that.
Well, it is a dedication to +1, so I'm kind of feeling the whole carrier thing. We'll see how Snute responds. He is expanding just purely outward, which is a little dangerous when it comes to this 4th base that he just grabbed, because if they were going for ground units, then the cliff above and the rocks being broken down would be like a tough spot to hold. But
especially like Colossus too.
Yeah, in this situation, I don't think it really matters. It is still having this really, really safe pocket 5th.
This is such an extreme amount of Phoenix, though, and he's still investing 2 at a time. Mass Phoenix can sometimes be a little bit cheesy, but it's interesting to see the direction Snute's taking this, because he's not trying to rush out Hydralisks or even build massive amounts of Queens and Spore Crawlers. He's actually investing in a lot of Lings. And the advantage there with the +2 melee and all this is that, you're not going to be able to pick up those units, and if he wants to take it one step further, go Ultras, again, more units you can't really feasibly deal with Phoenix. But it's not going to stay Phoenix by the looks of it, unless this is for Anian Pulse Crystals, but I don't imagine that'd be the case. Getting away with 3 bases, all these gases, cannon's going to start up. I imagine Neeb starts making that transition.
You gotta be able to take down those Overlords a little bit faster. A little bit farther away,
I was going to say, yeah, would that be faster? I guess it would be an extra shot you get in upon approach.
Yeah, totally faster. If Snute doesn't have a plan, then it's already, like, feeling kind of bad, but I'm sure he does. You just haven't seen it evolve quite yet. You can't just make Hydras, because if Phoenix is lifting up one at a time is going to be useless. But you also just can't depend on Lings. Obviously, not even 200 Lings will successfully break the front and do enough damage to make up for the fact carriers are on her ass. So we're just kind of waiting to see what he does.
Yeah, this is... Okay, so Neeb's bled out a couple of these Phoenix, which is a bit awkward, because normally you see almost nothing go down to Spore Crawlers, but... this is where the Lings run by. They circumvent the Phoenix as well, so there's no vision on this. As they come to the other side of the map, the carriers are not quite going to be out. The 2 cannons aren't going to stop the Lings. These should actually get some nice kills on the probes here in the 3rd.
If they went that way, they're breaking on the rocks. Nope, they're not doing anything. All right.
So
Oh, drones are dying.
Yeah, bleeding out a lot of workers over here, and he falls back with these. I'm curious what the plan with this is now.
I feel like there's a way he's like misreading this, right?
Well, so here's the problem now, right? Mothership's gonna finish up. He won't have detection, and now he can't kill the cannons because he won't be able to see them.
Yeah, but I mean, aside the Ling Baneling thing, I kind of jokingly said his plan could be like to overwhelm with Lings, but I still don't think even mass amount of Lings and mass amount of Banelings will take over the fact that you have to deal with carriers eventually. Like, it's gonna happen whether he you know, it's like, if I don't believe in carriers, they don't exist. But he's gonna try and go this path and like do severe damage on the ground before transferring over into his own.
Well, he manages to hit a lot of the probes. Not too bad. 20 workers dead. Slams into the wall. Can't quite break the wall. Oh, he's trying so hard, but the force field saves it. Although one Ling's still on it.
That's kind of funny. This other Link still can't get through when the carriers are out. The Phoenixes still can try and pick up as many Links as possible. You know, not too great at it, but they can do it. And Neeb is still making carriers, and he didn't actually lose any Nexus, so it's still 4 times pro production. And Snute doesn't actually have a follow-up. He doesn't have a Hydralisk Den or a Spire. He's going Mass Queen. There's the Hydralisk Den finally, but I don't think that did the damage he wanted it to do.
No, certainly not. And, I mean, it was nice getting a lot of probe kills, but that's not exactly going to hamper Neeb. Neeb's not hurting for the money yet. He's still able to afford those 10 mineral cost interceptors, right? Like, this isn't such a big deal for him to lose some workers, but splitting the attention, I guess one of the drawbacks of Snute's army is it is all-powerful, but incredibly slow. So responding from one base to the other, not nearly as easy as these Lings to transfer one way versus the other, but Snute's still flooding purely with the Lings running on in here. Carriers are going to slowly kill the Lings, and the Lings are going to try and kill some of the probes, but this is not Adrenal Gland Lings. These are +2 melee Lings.
Yeah. I mean, certainly if Neeb could get cannons back up, this would be absolutely no problem, but certainly Snute is doing a good job keeping Neeb's money low.
These recalls have been pretty sick, by the way. They're just denying with cloaking. I didn't realize the cloaking field was instantaneous.
Ah, yeah, that's a good point. Well, Snute's finally, like, okay, Snute has been on 4 bases with 80 drones for, like, this entire time, I think. So he is able to produce a lot of Hydras very quickly. He's also been building his Queen count for some time, so they have a lot of transfuses.
You know, normally when this is the case, the bigger issue isn't necessarily the carriers, it's the massive amount of adepts underneath them. And there's not really any adepts accompanying these carriers, so maybe, this is like a huge maybe, right? Snute's not in a great spot, but maybe the Hydras and the Queens work?
Maybe. Usually if the carrier count gets over, like, I want to say 8, it feels bad no matter what.
I would say
you're right.
4
usually, yeah, well, usually it's accompanied by a bunch of adepts, so that is the real change up here.
That's detection gone now. He's going to have to back away. Again, that's a lot of Queens, a lot of Hydras, a lot of transfuses, and while this went on, Neeb left his defenses a little bit open, so more probes went down. But Snute's still not able to break into that main. He does kill the Cyber Core. That's going to shut down +3 weapons. So that's not bad.
I mean, this isn't bad. You know, the fact that there aren't any adepts on the ground, that the Twilight Council was never made, I don't think. So there's no Resident Enclaves either.
These Hydras and
like,
Queens have like no upgrades though, so that kind of sucks.
Oh, that's a good point. They only have +1 Therapists. They're about to have +1 attack, but
he does kill most of the interceptors though, and that does render the carriers useless for the time being. So Neeb is forced to come back home. I mean, what Snute's doing looks almost futile, but keep an eye on the army tabs, right? He's actually keeping toe-to-toe with Neeb in terms of that, but the resources lost really is the hidden story of this game.
Yeah, that number is still making it look like Neeb's doing perfectly fine.
Oh,
but
nice
you're
pickups.
right about the other parts. I still think Neeb has well, I think both of them have a shot to win this game, but I think Neeb is the one that's getting to that ultimate army. Again, if he only had, like, Storms or, like, Resident Enclave Adepts in the ground, I think there's actually no chance he'd win.
So this is where I really like what Snute's been doing, right? Like, you can nitpick a lot of things because there's not a lot of greatness coming from this. But again, it goes back to the immobility. How many times has Neeb had to recall back home? That was like the 5th recall this game. So the Lings are constantly keeping him on his feet, and that's why Neeb's not pushing in to slaughter the hatcheries, to kill the Hydra dens and whatnot.
Getting smarter about it, or rather, he's finally having the minerals to be smart about it. Like, he's kept carriers back at home, so the Void Rays are becoming this hit squad. He's gonna probably be able to add on more cannons once he is maxed out, actually, so we can start adding on cannons again to not worry about Ling run buys.
That's true, yeah. That's a big part of this too. Like, cannons alone aren't even that great, but once you've got a lot of them, The surface area they cover for each other just shuts down lings. And again, unless Snute has a hive, unless he has adrenal glands, these lings are going to do some good damage to buildings, but they're not going to kill cannons faster than cannons kill them in mass quantities. Not to mention, at some point, too, I imagine at some point at least, Neeb's going to be looking towards getting those storms. You see a lot of hydras, you see a lot of lings. Carriers are great, voiders are amazing, but storms are going to be what shuts them down easier than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. I think Neeb's army is powerful enough that he doesn't necessarily need the storms. He is maxed out on air, but it would be the absolute, like, okay, you're never going to win. Like, Snute could be the master of dodging storms. Like, he could have creep right up against the army and be dodging like a master, and it still wouldn't matter. You know, that little bit of crowd control would even be effective with all the carriers.
I really like the gold base taken down here. He's going for a Nidus room, which I find really interesting. Backdoor into the base, I suppose. But if Snute keeps expanding, I feel like money towards the bottom right side of the map is going to be better than Neeb getting stuck in his top left corner of the map. I don't know. So many queens, so many hydras. I mean, by the way, if you guys don't know, the best counter to Void Rays are queens. You want to watch 40 Void Rays not kill a hydra? Watch the queen spam transfuse into it, right? Like, it's a really good composition Snute has, considering 23 queens is really out of the ordinary.
Someone asked for the units lost of lings. Almost 300.
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, Neeb, again, like, look at the cost efficiency of this game. It's been more through interceptors than anything else, but it's with queens versus interceptors, it's a mineral game and gas doesn't matter. What's going to start mattering a lot, though, is when the hydras are dying and when the carriers are actually picked off and when the gas-based units start disappearing. And speaking of gas-based units, we are finally moving towards that high Templar attack. And this, by the way, forget storms for a second. This is going to be great. Feedbacks to shut down queen transfuses could be just as effective.
Oh, yeah. This really... It sucks because Snute has been going for mass queens, so obviously that's a big deal. But it also sucks because there's been a long period of time, I think
Okay, Neeb wanted to clear up some supply for Templar. Is going to be my logic there.
It's possible, although I'm not sure.
I don't think
probes is really better.
Yeah, I don't think that was going to be the case. Transfuses going into the queens, trying to soak that damage on the front lines. A lot of transfuses going to this one queen. She just won't die, Zombie Grove!
Man, this reminds me of my 2v2s.
That was like 11 cats. Each having 9 lives. That queen just did not die.
They still gotta go up against cannons, and the carriers only need a short amount of time to rebuild their interceptors, which is why he disengaged. So if he loses the 5th, I think that's an understandable loss if you just buy him time for the interceptors.
Yeah, but you know, the Lings got on top of these bases. The cannons also got chewed away at while this went on. 15 more hydras coming out. I mean, the nice thing is, all these queens helped buy Snute time to get to more gas, more economy, so he can afford to replace an almost pure hydra army. And without storms, Neeb may struggle. I don't know. The Void Rays are still going to do really well into this. So many Overseers just getting targeted down because he doesn't want detection. They're giving chase. Neeb has to now focus or keep his mothership back so he doesn't lose that cloak. And
Queens! Oh, you're all dead. I'm sorry.
They're out of energy, so it may or may not matter that they died here. But this was a bad fight. The second those Overseers went in too deep and he lost all that detection, no way to actually fight.
I am the master of mass queen. Thank you very much. No, I'm kidding.
2v2s,
like losing
maybe.
queens. Like the whole point is that you're not supposed to have to remake 600 minutes at a time from all your hatcheries. So, it's because he still believes that Hydra mass queen is the way to go or the only way to go at this point. But it's over. Like they're not working enough, and you can't rebuild this army again. He's not that rich.
I'm really sad we never got to see that Nidus Rum come into effect either. I think that would have been a really cool way. But the storms blanket the army. That's going to be a bit much. Snute's just going to eat it all. GG. Well played. And Neeb will take this series 2-1.
That was a very interesting way to play for Snutes. Like, I could definitely see how that works. Maybe on a different map. Maybe just with a less prepared opponents, because the Lings would get everywhere, it'd get into chaos, then you just go like the 1-2 punch. But no, the way that it looked didn't look very convincing against Neeb. But I'm sure it works on other games.
Yeah. Well, that's going to send him to the semifinals, which is great. We also, so that's $69 donation coming in from Zest Makes My Other Head Spin. Says, the motherfucker's going to IEM Katowice. Also, I heard that this money goes into the mega tournament, so #passion! Exclamation mark fanfic warning. Game 4, Trap's palms were already sweaty, very sweaty. All the better for zest. More lubricant, and that's where I'm going to stop. All right, thank you so much to Flotch. And yes, donations for the next couple of months are going directly towards the Mega Tournament fundraiser, so that's going to be dropped off over there later. So thank you very much for that contribution. Devin Wolf hit us up with 1,000 bits during that game. Thank you so much. Nitrous Pelican for 2 years resubs and says, am I beautiful? You're the most beautiful pelican I've ever seen, my friend. And then Mura just now resub for 2 months back-to-back says, I like you. Well, let's be friends. But okay, folks, definitely seeing those FPS problems. Gonna look into fixing that while we get this next potential series set up. Keen did beat Optimus, and he waits for the winner of Alive or Nurchio. We know that Neeb beat Snute. They wait for the winner of Sort of versus Fear. Whichever semifinal is ready to go first is the one we'll do. But we'll go to commercial break, and I'll try and see what was causing the frame drops during that crazy engagement. And we'll see you guys soon.